It is January 10th, 2025, and this is video number 3. And today's topic is brain basics. Now, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor, but I've been a teacher for 30 years, and that's a whole lot of in-service days. And once in a while, they actually did something that gave you something that was useful and instructive. Once in a great while. And one of the things that you pick up along the way is how the brain works, because it's important when you're dealing with children and adolescents to know how the brain works. And one of the things that should be known by all parents and teachers is, and this is shocking, but it's true, the prefrontal cortex doesn't completely engage until, how old do you think? Guess a number, an age. 10, 15, 7, 25. It takes until age 25 for the brain to continue to mature, what we call completely. Of course, we continue to grow and mature all through the years that we live, but this is the problem with everything. This is the problem with, teenagers, adolescents, because they literally cannot make the right choices. They cannot. It's not that they don't want to. It's not that they don't have any sense. It's not that you raised them wrong or that they're stupid. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do with the way the brain matures. Wait a minute, my other mic. Now, and the never-ending effort to avoid BS on the internet, I'm going to put the links to where I got these things in the comments. I'm going to put all my links to my sources, like footnotes kind of thing, a bibliography type of thing. Here's the prefrontal cortex, and this came from a website called kenhub.com. Very informative. That's the prefrontal cortex, which should be right up front here, right? The front of the brain, supposedly. Now, it's interesting because in Indian culture, they put that bindi right here where the third eye should be, which is kind of interesting. There's a lot in Hinduism that we don't recognize as extremely valuable and a lot of wisdom, a lot of accumulated wisdom. But anyway, that's a squirrel. We're not going to follow the squirrels today. Now, this is the problem. This one is the problem. This is the limbic system. That little yellow, actually it's a lime yellow dot where it says amygdala. That little dot right in there. That's the problem. Well, it's not a problem. We need it because this is the fight or flight brain. This is the brain that's like an animal. I see a threat, I respond immediately. Immediately. No thinking. No thinking. Now, I doubt very much that the people who upsold me that electric panel that I didn't need and the what about those attic insulation, the attic insulation that was overpriced, oversold. Oh my God, $10,000 to take out the old batting insulation and blow in new. All right, a couple thousand, 2,000 maybe for the labor and the materials. Fine, 2,000 I would say. 10,000 to change the insulation in the attic. All things together, plus all the other ancillary expenses that people were pulling from me. People who tried to help. I can help you. Yeah, you're going to help me, all right. You're going to help me, all right. You're trying to drain my bank account. That's what you're trying to do. But anyway, back to the brain. When students are sent home and the parents are told this is a teacher in-service day, this is often the kind of thing that we're learning. Things like this. And the fact that it takes until age 25 to really grow a brain, literally grow a brain, is kind of scary. Because when you think of all the decisions and choices that we're asked to make before the age of 25, finish our high school program, decide on a college major, finish college, get married, these are major life decisions, major life decisions. And if your brain is not completely engaged, it's easy to see how people can make mistakes. So we have to be careful, and we have to be merciful with them, with younger people, because they literally cannot function the way older people can function. And it's not even a question of life experience. It's a question of your brain's not working right. Now, what does this have to do with widows? Everything, everything. When they told me, oh, this panel, your house could burn down. If you don't change this panel, your house could burn down. The house that my father so painstakingly had built. And so glowingly and, really honorably paid off very early. They had a 30-year mortgage, and I can't remember now if it was 3 years or 5 years. It was a ridiculously low number when they paid off the mortgage. They were also proud of that they managed to be frugal and pay off their mortgage so quickly. They were so proud of that. And this is the house that you're telling me, two of you men who are supposedly electricians, you're telling me if I don't change this panel and spend $8,000 that I cannot afford, my house could burn down. My parents' house could burn down. You're telling me this, and amygdala, boom. The instinct brain, react quickly. And what does it say? What does it say in that thing about making choices? Where did I put it? Where'd it go? There it is. This is about grief impairment of the brain. This is emotional. This is the effect of trauma on the brain, on the thinking. It shuts down your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala kicks in, because the amygdala is the fight or flight. It's the animal response. And sometimes they call it the monkey brain. The amygdala is what gets teenagers in trouble by doing really stupid things. When I think of the stupid things I did as a teenager, I was like, boy, I dodged so many bullets I dodged. Thank you, God. But here's the problem with being a widow. Back to our topic, right? Under shock, it says decision-making impairment. Under shock, individuals may make impulsive or poor decisions due to the heightened emotional state, thus prioritizing immediate safety over careful consideration. The amygdala kicked in. They told me your house could burn down. You need this new panel. And I believed them because I wasn't thinking with my front brain. Now, the other interesting thing that happened with this company, I've got to share this because it's so interesting. This is a company that's connected to two other companies. There's an electrical contracting company, there's a plumbing company, and then there's a heating and air conditioning company. And all three work together. They're all really the same company. They're all connected. And as it turns out, since I've been doing some internet searches, they're all across, they're a franchise. They're like they're a franchise. They're all across the country. They're not just in New Jersey. They're not just in Pleasantville, New Jersey. Sorry to say. Watch out, Illinois. Watch out, United States, because they're coming after you, and they're coming after your widow's pension and Social Security. They're coming after your sorry little bank account, and they don't care. All they care about is making their bosses happy, because that means a promotion for them, maybe a raise, and thinking of themselves only. This is the problem. But anyway, what I wanted to say actually was I had a flood in September of 2023. It was something that they were connected to. I had them. It was partly my fault, and I don't know if it was their fault, but they should have had enough experience to say, this appliance is not going to work for you. Don't install it. But they didn't have the experience to tell me that. So what happened was I had them install a handheld bidet in my bathroom on the main floor, which is, upstairs from the basement, right? Not upstairs, it's the main floor. Basement is the lower deck. It's a basement. Anyway, so they installed it and it failed. The hose burst and I had this huge flood all through the upstairs. Well, not all through the upstairs, just in the place where the bathroom is. And then it went right downstairs to the basement. So all the sheetrock in the basement had to be torn out and replaced and repainted and that whole thing. That happened in September, right? September. In April is when, and this would have been 2023 or 24. This would have been, I think it was 24. So in April 24, the panel gets replaced. In September of 24, the flood happens. I've had them here, not just for this, but I've had them here doing different things, doing different smaller jobs, which turned out to be $900 jobs, which I paid up front. I just paid. When I had them do something, I had them, whatever it was, a receptacle or fix something or change something. I've had smaller jobs. I had them do smaller jobs. They've been here a lot. They got to be on a first name basis with me. And Sam, I'm really disappointed in you because you pretended to be our friend. Our meaning myself and my friends. with all this Mr. Joe and, we're so good. You should come to our meetings and you're such a good client and all this bullshit. You pretend to be somebody's friend, almost like a son, like an bonus son, and then you screw the person that badly. I looked at the Jehovah's Witness Bible is not that different from the regular Bibles, the different translations, the different versions, Revised Standard or what. It's not that different. I'm not sure what is different, but there's probably a couple things that are different. Maybe they changed the word God to Jehovah. I don't know. Whatever. But it says in your Bible what it says in the other Bibles. Do not oppress the widow and the orphan, or my vengeance will be visited upon you and your wife and children. That's what it says in Exodus 22, verse 22. Easy to remember because it's 22:22. Just like the year my husband died. 22. Anyway, getting back to the brain. And the story about the flood. So this guy, one of the guys from this company came to my house, and I said, it was for a different purpose. It was to do a receptacle or some little electrical job. I forget what it was now, because I had them here a lot. And I said, I really wonder about this electrical panel. Why did I actually need this panel? What was wrong with the old one? And this guy said to me, he knew about the flood. He knew about it. He said, oh, well, you had a flood in here. You had a flood, and so, the panel was damaged. The panel is 5 feet above where the floor is, or more. 5'5". I'm 5'5". It's a little over my head, so at least 5 foot away from the 1 inch of water that was on the floor, not near the panel. And more importantly, the flood happened in September, late September. The panel was replaced in April of that year. So panel first, flood second. Why would the panel need to be replaced because of the flood that happened 5 months later? April, May, June, July, August, September, 5 months later. You want to explain this? No, you can't, because you're liars. You're liars and you're cheaters. How can you go to church every Sunday and say, oh, Jehovah saved me? Oh, mighty Jehovah. How can you do this? How can you do this to people? And believe me, I've seen Yelp. I am not the only one you've done this to. By a long shot, not the only one. You've done this to a lot of people, and I am calling you out. I want you to see this video. I want you to understand. I know what I'm on to you, and I'm coming after you. Okay, I'm coming after you. You're not going to get away with this anymore. Even if coming after means I'm going to publicize what you've done and to warn other people so they don't let it happen to them. Anyway, getting back to the brain, which is what this topic was supposed to be. Squirrels. This is the brain that is in charge normally. This is your brain on normal. Where's that other picture? I lost it. It's got too many papers there. And this is your brain on grief. This is that little tiny. It says amygdala. It looks like a lime green. It's so tiny you can hardly see it. Amygdala. It's right in the middle, like right there. And that's the monkey brain that takes over when triggered by a shock, narrows your attention focus, that's for sure, making it hard to concentrate on tasks or take in information effectively. Now, these guys knew I was a recent widow because I talk about it to everybody. I tell everybody the story of I find them on the couch and all this. I tell everyone that story because it's like the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. You're so traumatized that you want to keep telling the story, even though you wonder why you're doing this because they've heard it already, But it's something that I guess it's part of the healing process. I don't know. Maybe, probably. I don't think that these salesmen and these supposed electricians studied the brain to the extent that I studied the brain, even as a teacher. But they do know that their boss is telling them sell, sell, sell. And they're known for upselling, meaning pushing things on people they don't need. And a couple of other things have happened with the same company, which I'll save for another video because I don't know what time frame I'm at now, but it's probably too much already. 14 minutes. Sorry about that. It happens. Anyway, that's the story of the brain. And the brain part that you want to focus on is the prefrontal cortex, But when the amygdala takes over, it's the instinct brain. You really can't help it. It's part of survival. It's part of what kept us alive as a species. Because if the saber-toothed tiger is coming at you, you better climb a tree or do something, hide under a rock or do something to save yourself. You're not going to outrun him, so you're going to have to think what to do, which involves, the prefrontal too. They work together. They're not separate, really, like the way I'm presenting them. They're not separate, but they work together, and you need both of them. It's not, you can only have one and not the other. You need your instinct brain to give your intelligent brain a chance to engage. If you're not living anymore, the prefrontal's not going to work because you'd be dead, honey. Well, that's all right. Be careful out there. Do not sign anything. Do not sign anything. No contracts. Don't make any agreements. And be careful about relationships too, because you don't want to fall into a quick relationship that might not be good for you. So you got to be careful with everything when you're a widow. Be careful with everything. And don't let anyone in the house. Don't take phone calls. Do not be careful on the computer and the cell phone. And even people knocking on the door, and I'll talk about that later too. People knock on doors too, and they try to come into your house. You've got to have like a wall of protection around you in all kinds of ways. The cell phone, the computer, contracts. Be careful out there, please. Don't let anyone in to destroy you, because that's really what almost happened. They almost destroyed me completely, and more on that in another video down the road. Be good to yourselves, and be good to other people, and be good to yourselves, and more later.